In this video, we will go over the basics of organizing your classes on the home page. In this example, this is an elementary teacher, and you can see that there are quite a few classes set up. Many times elementary teachers do not utilize all these classes, especially if they're in the lower grade levels. And this teacher happens to be a kindergarten teacher, so let's look at what we can do to clean this up for. First of all, again, you'll notice the names are a little bit long and cumbersome. So for this teacher, let's find the homeroom class and let's rename that one. Go into this edit button here, and it gives you the option to rename the class. It won't change what Clever has, but it'll make it something that you can see that works better for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the teacher's name and then put homeroom. That's not necessary, but you can, it doesn't mess with anybody else's. So whatever you want to name it here, whatever works for you, you can do that and then save it. And now you can see that this one has become much more user-friendly on the name. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to pin this one, and that's just by clicking this little thumb tab here. The nice thing about that is it puts it up here by itself, and it kind of separates it from everything else. So if you had others you wanted to pin, you could do that, but in this case, this is probably the only class this teacher will use, so we're going to pin that one up here. Then the next step you can take is you can collapse this, so all those other classes are now hidden. So now when this teacher comes into Classwize, all they will see is their homeroom class. So that's one way to clean this up for an elementary teacher. Now let's look at this for a middle school teacher. So this teacher has a few classes, but all of these classes will be used by the middle school teacher. So again, you can go in and rename them. Just for brevity's sake, I'm just going to rename them without the teacher name. You can also pin while you're doing that. So I could pin this one, but in this case we're going to use all these classes, so we don't really need to pin them. The other thing you can do is you can combine them. So for instance, here we see that we have two first period classes. You can see that one, G for gifted, so these two are probably going to work together. So we're going to put those together for this teacher. The way you do that is go to combine classes, and then you select those classes here. So there's the one, and there's the one, and we'll say next. And then we need to give this a name, and that looks like it's first period, so that's what I will name that. And it looks like those names need to be unique across our system, so this is another good reason to use your first name or initials or something like that when you create a name so that it stands out. So this one pinned it automatically when I did that. Again, doesn't matter, you can unpin it to put it back. I noticed that it didn't do capitalization, so if that bothers you, you can always come back in, and I think you can just recapitalize it like that. Yep. And so now I've combined those, and you can see that it's telling us those are combined. Let's do that for the other ones here real quickly. Second period looks like it doesn't need to be combined, so I'm going to rename that one. I'm going to combine third period, and I'm going to rename fourth period. So let me do that, and I'll speed up the video for you. Okay, so now all these are cleaned up. You'll notice that this is putting them in alphabetical order. So if you wanted homeroom to be the first one, you could name that something like with a 0 in front of it. And again, if the next person decides to do that, it may say that's the same class name, you can't use it. So just use your name as well. Like, let's just example that here. Okay, so now we've got these all cleaned up, and this is much easier to look at than what it was before. the last thing you can do when you're working with classes is you can actually create a class. And some of the reasons that you might want to create a class would be if you're working with ISS students, you've got a group after school that you want to work with, just a number of reasons you could do that. And that's a pretty simple process. You just come up here to add class, enter a name, and then save it. You can, again, pin it if you're pinning classes or not. You don't need an invitation code because the students will be put in there automatically. So you just save that. And then what I would do then is go into these settings to add students. So I'd start typing in the name of the student and just drop them in there. There we go. You can also add additional teachers to this one. And those are really the only things you need to do. You'll notice there's a scheduling button over here where you can add a schedule where this classes start and stop on specific times. We're going to suggest that you don't do that just because schedules change every day, and if you do that and forget to turn that off, then on an alternate day when you do homeroom for longer or you skip homeroom or something like that, that schedule will still be enacted and that could cause problems. So it's better to do what we showed in the initial video where you just go in and set the end time for the class. So again, add your students here, add a teacher here, and then save it. And that's pretty much it on setting up classes on this front end.